Hello, good evening. I'm going to start with the least glamorous part of the evening, housekeeping. So we have toilets on this floor, the first floor, and we have fire exits at the corner of the rooms here. We are not expecting a fire alarm, so if we have a fire alarm, please use the fire exits. And we do have free Wi-Fi if you want Wi-Fi. You don't need a username or password, but you need to accept the British Library conditions and join the Wi-Fi. So good evening and welcome to the British Library and to the 2025 Society of Authors Translation Prizes ceremony. We are delighted to welcome you this evening and to host this celebration on behalf of the Society of Authors. My name is Sophie de France, and I'm curator for the Romance collection here at the British Library, or actually French, as you might have guessed. This is a particularly fitting place to gather. The British Library is dedicated to languages, to literature, and to communication and understanding. We are a multilingual institution, indeed the multilingual institution in the UK, with collections in hundreds of languages. We hold the source material of translation, an inexhaustible reserve of works waiting to be discovered. My own department, the European Collection, collects, preserves, and promotes scholarly and literary works in dozens of languages. We have held translator in residence schemes to creatively unlock the power and relevance of translation at our institution and everywhere. A scheme whose legacy we hope to honor in our curatorial work. We embrace both the beauty and the challenge of translations, and at the British Library, projects such as the Qatar Digital Library offer bilingual resources with English catalogs descriptions translated into Arabic, freely accessible worldwide. The Qatar project also has recently led a workshop on project management in translation for MA students, and this Thursday will host a webinar on translation practices for members of the Chartered Institute of Linguists. Very soon, actually in October, the British Library will be opening or launch a major exhibition on Agatha Christie, often described as the most translated author in the world. One of the numerous highlights of the exhibition will be a wall of her works, both in English and in translation, a powerful visual reminder of how stories travel across borders. We all know that multilingualism and togetherness are in a crisis, so we must work together to counterbalance it as much as we can. For our essential duty to bring the world to readers here, to multilingual and English speakers alike, we can only do that through the commitment of translators and publishers in the UK, a commitment to making newly translated works available for our collections. And I remind you that we are free and open to everybody above 18, and you can all become readers. So thanks to all of you present here tonight, and I wish you a joyful and exciting evening.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening at the British Library. It's very nice to see so many friendly faces here. And hello to everyone watching across the globe via the live stream. My name is Fiona Sze-Lorrain. I'm a writer, poet, musician, editor, and translator working in English, French, Chinese, and occasionally Spanish, Italian, and Japanese. Chic, n'est-ce pas? Well, if you ask what language I use most in my daily life, I can tell you that I smile most of the time, which saves me a lot of trouble with words. Well, that's supposed to be funny. After all, well, thank you. As we writers and translators know, it isn't just about finding the right words. This year, I also had the very important role, along with two fellow writers, Helen Oyeyemi and John McGregor, of judging the John Calder Prize for groundbreaking translations. So we have been reading and discussing some of the books we have been we are celebrating tonight for almost a year. Well, please forgive me if I get any of the names pronounced slightly off. Like Sophie, I'm French, technically. Well, I know, it's confusing. I'm particularly pleased to also have been asked to compare this evening, and trust me, I won't go off script. Let me begin by welcoming you to the Knowledge Centre here at the British Library. Warm thanks go to our generous host and to Sophia Lefrance for kicking things off this evening. We are also grateful to our prize and event sponsors for the continued support of the translation prizes. Your contributions make these prizes possible, and we wouldn't be here without you. Last but not least, we are counting on you, the audience, for making this a real party, to borrow words from my previous host, who is with us somewhere in the audience. As a multilingual writer and translator myself, having grown up and now living with more than one cultures and languages, I can't be more grateful for the ever-evolving possibilities that the world of translated literature has opened up to me. I never cease to marvel at how works of translation, like dripping water hollowing out a rock, transform cultural and literary boundaries and our receptivity to the other on the most human level. And for these reasons, among others, I'm honored to be able to contribute to this collective effort in highlighting the vital import of translated literature, celebrating the often invisible yet frontline creators, the translators. This evening, we will be celebrating works translated from a wide range of languages, including Arabic, Bengali, Bulgarian, French, German, Italian, Japanese, Polish, Spanish, and Swedish. I'm sure you're just as impressed as I am by the variety of literatures. What a treat! If you haven't gotten a chance to put your hands on them, copies of these books can be purchased via bookshop.org, where a contribution from every purchase goes towards the Society of Authors Access Fund, which helps authors travel to events and retreats across the country. Now, on to business. This evening, I'll be welcoming our runners-up and winners onto the stage and inviting our winners to share a few choice remarks with us or treat us to a reading. Please do be generous with your applause. If you are called up onto the stage, please use the stairs at this side of the stage. Not here. And our photographer, Adrian, where are you, Adrian? Here. We'll be ready to take your picture. We kick things off today with the TA First Translation Prize. This prize recognizes a debut translation from any language and is generously endowed by Daniel Hahn and Joe Heinrich. Both of them are camouflaging here too, I think. The prize is uniquely shared between translator and editor and recognizes new talent in translation. The judges this year were Anand Zafar, Stella Sabin, Anthony McGowan, who called the judging process joyful but also dizzying. I wonder what that means. Speaking about their runner-up, the judges said, "Every aspect of this project is bursting with ingenuity and care. Congratulations to Gwendolyn Harper and editors John Siciliano and Rory Williamson for a translation of A Last Supper of Queer Apostles by Pedro Lamabel. Sadly, Gwendolyn and John cannot be with us this evening, but please welcome Rory to the stage. He has made his way to the stage. The judges wish to convey their gratitude to the winner, translator, and editor for bringing a remarkable work of compassionate resurrection to English language readers. Congratulations to the winners of the TA First Translation Prize, Antonella Lietieri and Richard Villett, for a translation of Your Little Matter by Maria Grazia Caladroni.
Hello, everyone. I'm honored to accept the TA First Translation Prize for my translation of Maria Grazia Calandrone's Your Little Matter. Your Little Matter is a deeply personal investigation into the life of the author's biological mother, and I will be forever grateful to Maria Grazia Calandrone for trusting me with her story and her words. I'm also profoundly grateful to my editor and publisher, Richard Villett, for believing in this book as much as I do, and for taking a punt on me when I had only heaps of enthusiasm and no experience whatsoever. Since then, Richard and I have gone on to work on more books, and our professional relationship has turned into a never-ending conversation between friends. So it fills me with joy that tonight we're both here to receive this prize, the only one of its kind, which recognizes, together with the translator, the vital role that editors play in fostering and supporting new voices.
Thank you.
We will now read a short excerpt from Your Little Matter. I will read the English and Richard the Italian, as it feels only right for literature in translation to have an accent.
Shall I go? I'll go with Italian first. And everybody excuse me. Bellezza che veleno. Lucia guarda la macina del sole sopra il grano che ruota gialla sul giallo. Sotto il sole imperiale di luglio il mondo pare fatto di pura luce e nei mattini limpidi si vede il mare sbrilluccicare al fondo della terra. La distanza tra la masseria e la fonte aumenta nella vampa come un grande inciampo. Lucia guarda, gromme di resina dove l'arteria madre del ciliegio si divarica in rami pieni di senno e sostanze che grondano fuori. Dovrei dargli il veleno che mi scivola lento dal cuore, perché è veleno pure la vita mia. Lucia passa con l'asino lungo la mulattiera, va alla fonte dell'acqua pulita, proprio accanto all'abbeveratoio. Dove, Tonino? Lucia guarda la fluorescente aragosta del tramonto a capofitto nel mistero dietro le colline. Guarda l'ombra sul grano e la palinatura dei granelli di scenzo delle olive immature sullo stenzo dei rami, fra le golle gonfie di canto di cardilli. Madonna mia, fammi la grazia, fammi morire. Invece, come se gli indossa bene gli anni, questa giovane donna di luce, questa povera polvere che sa di fieno.
Beauty that is poison. Lucia looks at the grindstone of the sun above the wheat, spinning yellow on yellow. Under the imperial sun of July, the world seems to be made of pure light, and when the morning is clear, the sea sparkles at the foot of the earth. The distance between the farm and the fountain increases in the blaze like a great obstacle. Lucia looks at the gobbets of resin where the mother artery of the cherry tree opens wide in branches full of wisdom, and substances drip out. I should give it the poison that slowly slips out of my heart, since poison is also my life. Lucia goes by, riding the donkey on the bridle way. She goes to the fountain of clean water, right next to the trough where Tonino. Lucia looks at the fluorescent lobster of the sunset, heading headlong into the mystery behind the hills. She looks at the shadow on the wheat and at the dusting of incense grains, the unripe olives on the ostensory of the branches, amidst the throats of the goldfinches full of song. Virgin Mary, give me grace, let me die. And instead, how well she wears her age, this young woman of light, this modest dust that smells of hay.
Thank you. Our second prize of the evening is the Saif Gobash Banipal Prize for translation from Arabic, sponsored by the Banipal Trust for Arab Literature and the Saif Gobash family, and celebrating a significant birthday this year, reaching 20 years of age. It was judged by Chair Professor Tina Phillips, Nashwa Nasrendin, Dr. Susan Frank, and Boyet Tonkin. They described each book on the shortlist as stylistically unique, each creating its own special literary aesthetic. This year's runner-up is a stunning rendition of a masterful work of Arabic literature. Congratulations to Kay Haken for a translation of Granada, the complete trilogy by Radwa Eshel. Kay is traveling and unable to join us, but we sent our well wishes through the live stream. The winning translator gives a master class in poetic translation, which remains remarkably true to the evocative prose of the original. Congratulations to Marilyn Booth for a translation of Honey Hunger, a novel by Zarend Outclassed Me.
I sat on this side because I thought it would be a shorter walk. But anyway, I'm very honored to be this year's recipient, I should put my glasses on too, of the Saif Gobash Banipal Prize. First, because I'm glad of the attention that it focuses on this novel, Honey Hunger by Zahran al-Qasimi. This is one of a few novels in my rather long career as a translator where I've read it, I've put it down, and I've said not only this must be translated, but also I must translate it. I'm sure other translators in this audience can share that feeling. This, of course, is not a rational way to proceed, because when I translated it, I did not have a publisher. But this makes it even sweeter and more joyous to see it now in the world of Anglophone readers making its way. And so the prize is particularly, I think, welcome in that way. I'm very happy, by the way, to now be working on Zahran's next novel, Exile of the Water Diviner, which was the 2023 winner of the International Prize for Arabic Fiction. This time I do have a publisher. I'm very happy to be working again with Hupo Books. It's an honor also because this prize has done so much to highlight contemporary Arabic literature and its travels in translation, as have the Banipal Trust and Banipal Magazine, which have been sustained by the vision, dedication, and hard work of Margaret Obank and Samuel Shimon in particular. The Seif Robash family have been generous partners in this prize, as I experienced recently in Dubai, where they held a wonderful dinner and celebration for the 20th year of the prize. I think 20 years also marks a real sort of upsurge in Arabic literature as being on the world map in translation as well as in Arabic. And we certainly have the Banipal Prize and Trust to thank for all this support through the years. Personally, I'm also delighted because I feel rather close to this prize. I've been shortlisted twice, I was a runner-up once, I've been a judge twice, and so it's really lovely to have received it this year. And I also just want to say that I do have a sense, therefore, of how much work judges put in, and I'd like to thank the judges through the years of this prize who have worked so much for it. A book involves many hands, as all of you know. I'm very grateful for the support of the Oman Culture Club and its director, Elasteza Azhar El-Harathi, for supporting this translation as part of their ongoing mission to promote Omani literature and see it circulate more throughout the world. I also thank my colleagues at Hupo Books, AUC Press, for their beautiful work and their collegial ethos, and also for always answering emails very promptly. It's wonderful. Finally, it's been a joy working with Zahran. He's always ready to answer questions, to patiently give me yet another tree name. There are a lot of trees in this book. While respecting my work as my artistic work as the creator of the English text. It's also great going on hikes with him through Awedi, which I experienced last year. It was after I'd translated this, and I almost felt at times like I was walking inside of a text that I had just written on the basis of his writing. Some of my most cherished friendships have happened through the intimacy and the vulnerability of translation, and I'm grateful and happy to have made another friend, I think I can say, through translating this work. In Honey Hunger, villages and Bedouin do not understand each other's dialects, which also, of course, poses quite a problem for the translator, who also doesn't necessarily understand them. There's a lot of very local Arabic in this novel. The translator wants to convey the dissonances between these groups in English, while also assuring that readers do understand and hear the novel's difficult conversations. In our present world of grave uncertainty and division, a resolve to hear others wherever they are is crucial, I think. More than think, I believe. To translate fiction is to listen and hopefully to hear, and to enter conversations that may begin in dissonance but end in smiles. I'm just going to read, I'm afraid, only from the English. We were given quite fierce time limits, so I thought this was best in just the first page and a half of the novel. Herdswomen sing, your herd finds pasture in the heart. In the pupil of the heart's eye you dwell. Here in this solitary hollow, he performed what looked like a prayer ritual in perfect tranquility. The silence was uninterrupted, save for the trilling of nightingales nearby. In a region so unfamiliar to him, he had come upon and chosen this roomy patch of land sitting among groves of gum acacia. When he arrived, the leaves on these samur trees were already falling, stripping bare the branches to herald the coming season of new buds. for the ample streams of water were now flowing across the land from the pebbly soil surface of the towering White Mountains all the way to the foot of the black granite Hajar mountain range. From a nearby plateau at a higher elevation, a pair of eyes shifted towards him and lingered, and then looked towards the herd of goats grazing on the nearby mountain face. Everywhere one looked, the land had sprouted green. Not far away from the watching figure crouched a Saluki, eyes half-hooded in drowsy boredom. He showed no interest in the grazing forms around him, letting the animals wander as they pleased. Or perhaps he was simply waiting for the slightest of hand gestures from his herdswoman, as her voice rose in a sad, lilting ta'wiba on that early morning. On parallel metal tracks sat rows of wooden boxes, carefully arranged. Moving amongst them and bending over them, he seemed oblivious to his surroundings. And then the silence was broken momentarily by the growl of a vehicle on the dirt track as it headed northwards, leaving a thick train of dust that erupted from beneath the wheels, only to drift downward once again, slowly, reluctantly, as though it would have preferred to continue floating in the streams of air. He paid no attention. Anyone coming through here would continue on their way, disappearing in mere seconds as they followed the route into the mountains. What occupied his thoughts instead was the time of year. The bees ought to be increasing in number now, some of the worker bees flying off to graze on the nectar in the flower buds that had begun to open already on the branches of the scrubby trees and bushes native to these parts. Every week now, he must examine these hives closely, one by one, or possibly twice a week in search of the queen bee's cell that the worker bees would have begun to construct. A melodious ta'wiba hovered above his ears as he drew out a frame, having just noticed a queen bee cell here in this hive that was now packed with bees from one end to the other. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. Next up is the Scott Moncrieff Prize for Translation from French, judged this year by Claire Finberg Dalidon, Shimona Sinha, and Adam Handy. The shortlist showcases the extraordinary range and vitality of contemporary French writing in translation. They have described the runner-up translator as one of the great talents of his generation, who reaches for the definitive word with ease and poise every time. Congratulations to Frank Wien for a translation of Sleeping Children by Anthony Passeron. Sadly, Frank cannot be with us this evening, but we send congratulations to him. The winning translation is a work of profound empathy and craftsmanship, a convoy of voices transported faithfully by writer and translator. Congratulations to winner Ruth Diver for a translation of The Convoy by Beata Ouibiei Morris.
Thank you, Fiona, and good evening, everyone. It's a great honour and a thrill to be here tonight to receive the Scott Moncrieff Prize, especially in such illustrious company on the shortlist. My thanks go to the Society of Authors for giving us, literary translators, our moment in the limelight, and to the panel of judges for what must have been an absolutely monumental task. One often thinks of literary translation as a rather solitary pursuit, but this project, perhaps more than any other, was the result of a collective effort. So there are several people who are due a share in this recognition. The Convoy is an account of the author's search for evidence of her escape from the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda in 1994, when she was just 15 years old. It's also her first non-fictional account of her lived experience of those traumatic times. So I share this honor first and foremost with Beata Umubi-Meres, and thank her for entrusting me with this most personal, challenging text, and for the care that she took with her contributions to the translation process. Of course, this work would never have come into English in the first place without the valiant team at Open Borders Press. My thanks in particular to publisher and editor extraordinaire Christopher McLehose, my copy editor Rabina Callum-Byrne, and editorial manager Clem Clement, who are all here tonight. Thank you all. I'd like to express my appreciation for the Institut Français du Royaume-Uni, not only for sponsoring this prize, but for their contributions to the cost of production of this book and many, many other translations of Francophone literature from all around the globe. I'm grateful for the collegial support, mentorship, where are you, and inspiration from our community of literary translators. And finally, my thanks go to my family back in Aotearoa, New Zealand, for ensuring that my solitary pursuits were regularly interrupted. In closing, I'd like to echo a few words of gratitude for the power of literature to connect us all, from the epilogue to the convoy, first in French and then in my translation. Durant les 8 mois qui ont suivi la publication du convoi, j'ai été traversée par un maelstrom d'émotions. Mais celle qui a dominé est un profond sentiment de gratitude envers toutes celles et tous ceux qui l'ont lu et diffusé, envers les personnes qui ont participé à la chaîne de transmission d'informations, une gratitude enfin envers la littérature qui m'a permis de réunir les enfants des convois, multitudes dispersées de par le monde. In the 8 months since the publication of the convoy in France, I have been overwhelmed by a maelstrom of emotions, but the one which has dominated has been a profound sense of gratitude towards all those men and women who have read and shared the book, towards all those people who have participated in the chain of transmission of information. Gratitude, finally, for literature, which has allowed me to gather together the children of the convoys, a multitude scattered throughout the world. Thank you all.
Ruth? Thank you, Ruth, for keeping to the 3 minutes. That's so efficient and moving. Where are we now? Yes, our next prize is celebrated biennially, and so we are pleased to welcome it back after a year off. The Goethe Institute Award this year for a translation of an extract from Dear Best Tak Zayed Langen by Jana Volkmann, and was judged by Monique Charlesworth and Jamie Lee Sell, who praised the very high standard of submissions. Described as a lively and balanced translation, our congratulations go to runner-up Sarah Ascott. Among many excellent renderings, the winning translation stood out for its elegance and accuracy and how it dealt creatively with the text challenges. Congratulations to winner Nick Brown.
Thank you very much to the Goethe Institute and to the judges and to everyone else involved at the Society of Authors and elsewhere. I'll just give a quick reading from the end of the extract, first in German and then in English. Das Pferd hatte offensichtlich die Arbeit niedergelegt und war stiftend gegangen. Einen Fiakergaul lässt man nicht einfach durch die Gegend spazieren und an Gasthäusern lehnen, wie es ihm beliebt. Eigentlich wäre es das Beste, ihn einfach in Frieden lehnen und seine Geschicke selbst bestimmen zu lassen. Streiks stimmten mich sentimental. Zwischen Aufruhr und Rührung lag bei mir nicht viel. Ich gratulierte dem Pferd zu seiner klugen Entscheidung, tätschelte abermal seinen Hals und wünschte ihm alles Gute. Wieder stieß es seinen Kopf gegen meine Brust. Dann sagte ich, lass uns nach Hause gehen, Cordelia. Wenn ich nüchtern war, sagte ich nur selten ihren Namen. Dazu brauchte ich Mut und im normalen Leben war ich so feig, dass es kaum auszuhalten war. Sie lief voraus und drehte sich an der nächsten Kurve nach mir um, wartete, bis ich sie eingeholt hatte. Noch im Abbiegen hörte ich hinter uns Hufgetrappel, etwas ungleichmäßig, so als lahmte der Rapper auf einem Bein. Das ist das ärmste Pferd auf Erden, dachte ich. Und dann geht es ausgerechnet uns hinterher. Was für ein Los. In regelmäßigen Abständen wartete Cordelia auf mich, dann warteten wir gemeinsam auf das Pferd, dann liefen wir in unseren jeweils eigenen Geschwindigkeiten wieder weiter. Während wir immer stiller und schlapper wurden, schien das Pferd mit jedem Schritt zu neuen Kräften zu gelangen und dem Weitergehen, immer Weitergehen seines Berufsstands alle Ehre zu erweisen. The horse had obviously laid down its work and done a runner. You don't just let a carriage horse stroll around the streets and lean against inns as it pleases. Really, the best thing would be to let it lean there in peace and determine its own fate. Strikes made me feel sentimental. There wasn't a big step between protest and pathos as far as I was concerned. I congratulated the horse on its wise decision, patted its neck again and wished it all the best. Again, it pushed its head against my chest. Then I said, let's go home, Cordelia. When I was sober, I rarely said her name. That took courage, and in normal life I was such a coward that it was almost unbearable. She walked on ahead and turned around at the next bend, waiting for me to catch up. As we turned the corner, I heard the sound of hooves behind us, somewhat uneven, as though the black horse were lame in one leg. This is the poorest horse on earth, I thought, and then it follows us, of all people, just our luck. At regular intervals, Cordelia waited for me, then we waited together for the horse. Then we each continued on at our own pace. Whilst we grew quieter and more exhausted, the horse seemed to gain a new strength with every step, doing honor to the ever onwards of its trade. Thank you.
Our second German prize of the evening is the Schlegel-Tieck Prize, judged this year by Sean Whiteside, Angel Okhaidia, and Carrie Andrews. The shortlist this year is made up of humane and human works, whose translators have produced not just readable, but often extremely beautiful books. The runner-up translator brings out with tenderness and care the story's fantastical elements and weaves them expertly together with the book's immersive world building. Congratulations to runner-up Alexandra Roesch for a translation of Boy with a Black Rooster by Stefanie von Schulte. The judges said that the superb yet playful handling of the novel's polyphony was one of the reasons why this had to be this year's winner. Congratulations to John Calder for a translation of Jinns by Fatma Adami. Joan is unable to join us here in the British Library, but has sent us the following video.
Good evening, everyone. My name is John Calder. It's such a tremendous honor to be speaking to all of you tonight. And while I've been unable to attend this ceremony in person, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the Society of Authors, the judges, the readers, along with all the other phenomenal authors and translators whose work and collaboration make an event like tonight's possible. In the coming days, my wife and I are expecting the birth of our first child, and while this inevitably means that I've been unable to travel internationally, it also strikes me as a particularly good launching point for thinking about Fatma Adami's novel, Jinns, a story that, in addition to offering a stunning rebuke of the way we've come collectively to think about German unification at the end of the Cold War, is also first and foremost a story about family, about one family's place among global phenomena, migration, political upheaval, racism, genocide, and war. A story about familial responsibilities, the ties that bind us together, and the secrets and silences that tear us apart. I'll be reading an excerpt tonight from the chapter Peri, a conversation between Perihan and her youngest brother, Ümit. Peri, hört sie Ümit auf ihrem Schoß. Peri, was ist ein Djinn? Ist das sowas wie ein Geist? Peri, what is a djinn? Peri feels the cold creep through her skin, like anyone who's grown up in a Muslim home hearing this word. Is it something like a ghost, Ümit asks? Hadn't all her siblings, cousins, and neighbors grown up with the same constant fear of these invisible beings, despite the fact that they were seldom spoken of? When people talk about jinns, they usually mean something different. They mean the things they can't explain. Jinns are everything we think is strange, different, unnatural. But what does this constant fear of jinns really mean? Why do people still warn their children about mythological beings instead of teaching them about the real dangers? Things like fascists, for example. Is it easier to worry about jinns rather than worry about Nazis? After all, both live among us. Both are capable of remaining unnoticed until the moment of catastrophe, when the reality of their existence finally becomes undeniable, like when Septa's house was set on fire. Thank you.
Before we continue with the prizes, and just so I can take a little break, I'd like to invite my colleague, Translators Association Committee member Nicola Smalley, to the stage for a small commercial, a few words on the benefits of SOA membership.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nicola Smalley, and I'm here to share with you why I think you should join the Translators Association. I've been a member of the TA for about 12 years. I think it must be more than that, but I wasn't going to go back through my emails. Since securing my first contract to translate a book in 2013. During that time, my translation work has ebbed and flowed as I was busy with academic and publishing work, but I've never stopped being a member. There are the obvious benefits of membership, such as the contract vetting that has more than paid for my annual subs. With the support of the contract team, I've become confident in requesting better fees and terms, and more often than not, I've even got them, thanks to their thoughtful wording and clarity that the team have provided. There are the personal and professional relationships developed at events and casual meetups. There are the talks and workshops that have given me a better understanding of our craft and of the wider publishing industry and our place within it. There is the campaigning work that the SOA staff and TA committee members and chairs have invested so much in over the years. Shout out to all of my fellow committee members and former chairs and current chairs that are in the room. You do great work. But also engaging with policymakers to give them a sense of the realities of our professional lives and to demand that our views and needs are taken into account. Because how else would they know? We're invisible, right? Sorry, I had to get a cliche in there. Invisible maybe, but translators make up nearly 10% of the SOA membership. And the more of us there are, the stronger a role our unique international and intercultural perspectives will be able to play. All of this work is done because members ask for it, and by becoming a member, you can make sure that your voice is heard on the issues you care about. So there are many, many reasons to join the TA. If you're not a member, please come and speak to me about some others that might inspire you to do so. But the most important thing is that it's by people, for people, and it's great. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nicola. She's absolutely right. So please do join the SOA. That's also one reason I'm on my best behavior. Next, we celebrate Japanese with the Great Britain Sasakawa Foundation Prize, judged this year by Lila Matsumoto, Asa Yoneda, and Dr. Victoria Young. They described their shortlist as reaffirming the multiplicity of voices to be found in Japanese literature and the promise that translation carries to allow these voices to travel. This year's runner-up is an unputdownable book by a translator who has made the complex seem easy. Congratulations to Brian Korenik for a translation of The Little Sparrow Murders by Seishei Yokomitsu. The winning translation elegantly conveys the clear-eyed poignancy and poetry of the author's prose. Congratulations to Ginny Tapley Takemori for a translation of Mornings with My Cat, Me, by Mayumi Inaba.
Hello, everyone. I'm really delighted to be standing up here today, and I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to the Great Britain Sasakawa Foundation and their three judges, Lila Matsumoto, Asa Yoneda, and Dr. Victoria Young, and to the Society of Authors for hosting these awards. I would also like to thank everybody at Penguin, Random House, and Harville Segu, especially my editor, Elise Steele, and also to agents Lee Kang-kin and Bruno Onuki-Reynel of the New River Agency. Of course, I must also credit my three office managers, Nemu, Chibi, and Tiga, and my wonderful husband, Tadashi. Thank you. In Mornings with My Cat, Me, Mayumi Inaba captures with deceptive simplicity and exquisite beauty what it means to be the guardian of another creature for the duration of their life, through their captivating youth to their frail old age and death. Neko to watashi wa oto ni ita. Soto de naite ita no. Iinagara, neko no kubi o yubi de tsumami, takadaka de sashiagete miseta. Hora, konna ni chizai. Mune ni kara hiki hagasu toki. Men shatsu no nuno ga baribari to oto o tateta. Akarui tokoro de miru to, neko wa ii kao o shiteta. Shiro to kuro to chanoke ga atama no tokoro de shima ni natte, senaka wa madara no mike. Hara no bubun dake mashiro na mesu neko datta. A kitten, I told my husband as I ran into the kitchen. She was crying outside. I held her up by the scruff of her neck for him to see. Look how little she is. My cotton shirt made a ripping sound as I peeled her away from my chest. In the light, I could see that she had a pretty face. She was a calico with white, black, and tan stripes on her head and patches on her back, and a belly that was pure white. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeannie. The Premio Valle Inclán for translation from Spanish was judged this year by Lawrence Shimo, Gabby Samuseti, and Luisa Soma. The shortlist captures the range and vitality of contemporary literature from the Spanish-speaking world. The runner-up is a balanced, fresh, and faithful translation, almost photographic in its precision and translucent heartbeat. Congratulations for the second time this evening to Frank Wien for a translation of The Last Dream by Pedro Almodovar. And as you know, Frank is not here tonight, but we reiterate our congratulations. The winning translators assured and deft choice of both vocabulary and syntax that make these poems sing in English as sweetly as in the originals. Congratulations to Richard Goin for a translation of Invisible Dog by Fabio Morabito.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the Society of Authors and the judges of the Premio Valle Inclán for awarding me this prize. I know how difficult it is to judge these things. I did it myself a few years ago. It's a pleasure and a privilege for me and for the author of the poems that I have translated, Fabio Morabito, to be honored in this way and to have one of Mexico's finest writers brought to the attention of more readers in the English-speaking world. I also want to thank Michael Schmidt and the team at Carcanet for consistently supporting my work as a translator from Spanish. I realize that time is limited, and so we'll get to the point. The point here being poetry, and read you a sample of Fabio's work, first in Spanish and then in my translation. And the poem I'm going to read is called, in Spanish, Despedida. Los martes llegaba un mendigo con mandolina a la sombra del cedro bajo nuestra ventana de persianas verdes que abría mi madre para darle 2 manzanas. Nos mudamos un día, nos fuimos lejos. El martes llegó el mendigo a nuestra casa abandonada y sé que estuvo largo tiempo tocando su mandolina bajo nuestra ventana a la sombra del cedro antes de irse para siempre de la colina de nuestra casa. Farewell. On Tuesdays, a beggar used to come with a mandolin to the shade of the citron tree beneath our window, with its green shutters that my mother would open to give him 2 apples. One day we moved. We went far away. On Tuesday, the beggar came to our abandoned house, and I know he was there. a long time playing his mandolin beneath our window in the shade of the citron tree before leaving forever the hill where our house stood. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Richard. Poetry is untranslatable. That's what I always hear, and that's also the reason why we do it. Our next prize this evening is another we only get to celebrate every other year. The Bernard Shaw Prize for Translation from Swedish was judged this year by Kate Lambert, Tom Geddes, and Dee Burkett, who said the books on the shortlist are united by the translator's skill in translating not only the words, but the experience of reading the original. The runner-up translation skillfully evokes the innocent, detached, and settling voice of the narrator and superbly describes her sheltered yet oppressive surroundings. Congratulations to Saskia Vogel for a translation of Cicero by Hannah Odenhug. Unfortunately, Saskia cannot join us this evening, but we hope she heard the applause through the live stream. The winning book is beautifully written, an evocative and nuanced book in English, retaining all the subtleties of the original. Congratulations to Agnes Brome for a translation of Collected Works, a novel, by Lydia Sandgren. Agnes is unable to join us in person, but has sent the following video.
Hi everybody, good evening. It's such a disappointment to me not to be there, but it's a pleasure to be with you via video from Massachusetts. I want to read you a quick sample from Collected Works, but before I do, some even quicker thank yous. First of all, to the Society of Authors for seeing and supporting translators everywhere. Your work is so important, and please, please keep doing it. In the same vein, thank you to the Swedish Arts Council, who helped make it possible to publish this very long, very costly translation, and of course to Pushkin Press and Astra House for taking a chance on it in English. Thank you also to Bonnier Rights for everything they have done for Collected Works and many other Swedish books all over the world, and for being such wonderful people to work with. I also want to extend my literally forever gratitude to SELTA, the Swedish English Literary Translators Association, for welcoming and supporting me when I was a brand new and slightly overwhelmed translator. My final and most profound thanks go out to my husband, Sean. Collected Works was my COVID book. I had just begun working on it when the pandemic hit, and overnight, as nurseries and schools and workplaces closed, we found ourselves homeschooling 3 young children while also caring for a baby, while I tried to transition my university teaching to Zoom, and sometimes, when I could, find a quiet nook in the house where I could work on my translations. It was a truly wild ride, and my translation of Collected Works would never have reached the finish line if not for my husband's support and steadfast refusal to be frustrated with me while we navigated that extremely challenging year. I'll read you a sample from the book, first in Swedish and then in the English translation. Rent rationellt, tänkte Martin där han låg på mattan, för han misstänkte att rationaliteten var det enda han hade att tillgå vid det här laget. Rent rationellt förstod han att detta var en del av processen. Att barn växer upp hör till livets oundvikligheter. För 30 år sedan hade han själv gjort samma sak, fast med mer tveksam frisyr. Det var sånt som skedde. Han hade bara inte varit beredd på att det skulle hända så snart. Han hade inte föreställt sig ödsligheten, inte förstått hur ensamheten skulle sprida sig genom rummen och ta över hela våningen. Allt medan hans hår grånade, benen blev smalare, hörseln sämre och åren försvann utan att ge något i utbyte. Och en dag skulle allt vara över. Lämnar efter sig högar med papper. Martin blundade och såg Gustav Becker framför sig, fastän det var viktigt att inte tänka för mycket på Gustav. Särskilt inte på en Gustav som skrattade, på de smala händerna som slöt sig kring cigaretten. på ögonen som dröjde kvar tills man själv såg bort. Martin tittade åt höger, papper, och åt vänster, papper, och fäste åter blicken i taket. Så vitt och jungfruligt det var, så oskrivet. And in English. Rationally speaking, Martin thought as he lay on the rug, because he sensed rationality was all he had left at this point. Rationally speaking, he understood this was part of the process. That children grow up is one of the inevitabilities of life. 30 years ago, he'd done the same thing himself, but with a more dubious haircut. It was how it went. He just hadn't been prepared for it happening so soon. He hadn't pictured the emptiness, hadn't realized loneliness would spread through the rooms and take over the entire flat, while his hair turned grey, his legs got thinner, his hearing failed, and the years vanished without leaving anything in exchange. And one day it would all be over, leaving behind nothing but stacks of paper. Martin closed his eyes and pictured Gustav Bicker, even though it was important not to think too much about Gustav, especially not Gustav laughing, his thin fingers closing around a cigarette, his eyes holding Martin's until Martin looked away. Martin looked to his right, papers, to his left, papers, and then turned his attention back to the ceiling again, so white and untouched, so unwritten. Thank you very much.
Please keep on going. That's what Agnes said, and do please remember that. The final prize this evening is the inaugural John Calder Translation Prize, which I judge alongside Helen Oyeyemi and John McGregor. Our short list is a rich and diverse collection of exquisitely crafted translations. Our runner-up is a genre-defying work that succeeds in both intertextuality and the art and craft of translation. Congratulations to Tess Louise for a translation of Nevermore by Cécile Weisbroch. I believe Tess is here with her author, Cécile. So, thank you for coming. Our winner is elegantly rendered into English with crystalline prose and a story fabula, yet so seemingly relevant and real. Congratulations for the second time this evening to Alexandra Roesch for a translation from German of Boy with a Black Rooster by Stefanie von Schulte.
John Calder's name stands for a particular kind of courage, the quiet, stubborn kind that backs work because it matters, not because it's easy. He understood literature as a public act, something that tests a culture's nerve and widens what can be said without apology. It is fitting that this prize looks for ambitious, groundbreaking work shaped by a highly personal, imaginative intelligence. Translation belongs in that same territory, an act of hospitality, but also of precision and risk, carrying a voice across a border without sanding down what makes it singular. To be the inaugural recipient of a prize that carries his name is an honor and a reminder of the standard that he set. I am profoundly grateful. My thanks to Sheila Colvin Calder and to Alma Books and to its founders, Alessandro Galenzi and Elisabetta Minavini, for sponsoring this prize and for keeping the Calder legacy in active circulation. And thank you to the Society of Authors for hosting tonight and for the steady, practical support they give translators throughout the year. I'm grateful to the jury for the care they brought to the shortlist and for choosing this book. I also want to thank my publisher, Susie Nicklin, for discovering this book as a debut and championing it with the kind of conviction that independent publishing still makes possible. Indigo's list is driven by international writing and a sense of what literature can do, and Susie's editorial courage is a huge part of that. I also want to thank Stefanie Schulte for Boy with a Black Rooster, a novel with a stripped-back clarity of a fable set in a world shaped by war, hunger, and fear. It's bleak and strangely luminous, and it trusts the reader to face it. I also want to thank Charlotte Collins, a friend and fellow translator, for putting me forward for this book. Finally, to everyone on the shortlist, several of whom I have admired for years, it means a great deal to be in your company. Before I finish, I'd like to read a short passage, first in the original German, then in my English translation. Einmal reiten sie durch ein Aschefeld und merken erst zu spät, dass es die Asche zahlloser Verstorbener ist, die puderleicht unter den Hufen des Pferdes aufsteigt. Und ganz gleich, wie langsam sie das Tier gehen lassen, die Asche wirbelt auf und setzt sich wie ein grauer Schleier auf ihre Haut und ihr Haar, und graue Staubwolken ziehen sie hinter sich her, dass man sie noch von der anderen Seite der Erde aus sehen müsste. Später finden sie einen Bach und spülen sich die Toten von der Haut, reden nicht über die Knochen und Schädel, die inmitten der Aschewüste verstreut lagen. At one point, they ride through a field of ash and realize too late that it is the ashes of countless dead that puff up like powder beneath the horse's hooves. No matter how slowly they make the animal walk, the ashes swirl up and settle like a grey veil on their skin and their hair, and they trail grey clouds of dust behind them that must surely be visible from the other side of the earth. Later they find a stream and rinse the dead off their skin, avoiding any mention of the bones and skulls that lay scattered in the middle of the ash desert. Thank you very much.
Once again, congratulations to all the translators and editors recognized this evening, and thank you to all our sponsors for these prizes, as well as Hawthornden Foundation and Amazon Literary Partnerships. These prizes and tonight's event represent the culmination of over a year of work, not just by our judges, but also by the SOA staff team. Thank you to the communications, events, and prizes teams for all the work that goes into them. The books on our short list can be purchased online via bookshop.org, and a contribution from every purchase goes towards the Society of Authors Access Fund. Thank you to everyone who has joined us via the live stream. It's been wonderful to have you with us, and you can carry on the conversation online using the hashtag Translation Prizes. Winners and runners-up, please do join me on stage for one final group photo before leaving the theatre. Everyone else, thank you, thank me. And now, please do make your way to the foyer where a drinks reception awaits so that we can all raise a glass to our winners.